There's so much to unpack in this Mica Miller story, but I know that you all want me to go ahead and get to the tea, the juiciest part of everything that's going on right now. But for those of you all who might not know about this story, I already have 2 videos about the story up on my channel, so you can go check out those videos to become familiar with this case. But long story short, Mica was a 30-year-old woman. She had been separated from her husband. She had filed for divorce from her husband just a couple of days before she turned up dead. You see, she was trying to start a new life. She had known her husband for a long time. There's allegations out there that he had groomed her since she was like 14 or 15 years old. We will get into those details a little bit later, but she had started a new life. She just got a new job. And on April 27th, she was supposedly on her way to work, but she never made it to work. And then she was found dead inside of a park. Now, hours after she died, her husband, a pastor in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, by the name of John Paul Miller, he gave this creepy sermon where he's nonchalantly cracking jokes, talking about how tall and handsome he is. And then at the end of his sermon, he's like, "Hey, everyone, my wife died. It was self-induced." And it was just a really awkward video. I already have the video up. You can go check it out. But now everyone is pointing their fingers towards the pastor, thinking that he had something to do with her death. And once you really start digging into the story and you start seeing all of the stuff that's been said about him, from Mica's parents, her friends, even people at their church have spoken out. And she's accused him of DV and other things that we've already talked about. And like I said, there's so much to unpack in this story that I'm going to be doing it through multiple videos. I don't do long live streams. I try to give you all bite-sized pieces of information so you can really sit on that information, dwell on it for a second, think about it, and then I'm always back with another upload with more information. But here's the tea. Here's what a lot of people are talking about right now. You see, John Paul Miller was allegedly seeing some other woman. And I know that doesn't sound too crazy, but the crazy part is the woman that he's allegedly dating, his new alleged girlfriend. And I'm going to say alleged a lot because there's a lot of information swirling out there. There's some things that aren't verified. There are some things that are verified. But let's just say this woman that he's been cozying up to, people in South Carolina, down in Myrtle Beach and in the areas where this guy lives, they know about him. A lot of people love him. He has a passionate following, but he also has a lot of people who feel like he's a shady dude. And they've been taking pictures of him with this other woman weeks, maybe even, I would say, months before Mica passed away. So there was already some type of like a scandal. I guess that's what you could call it, like a scandal going on. But anyway, he's seeing this other woman, and it just so happens that this woman has a husband who mysteriously died as well. So John Paul Miller, his wife allegedly so-called maybe ended herself, at least according to him. We don't know that for sure yet because the investigation is still ongoing. He's the one that's claiming she took her own life. We don't know for sure what happened. But we do know that he's out with this other woman now. And this other woman has a husband who just mysteriously died not that long ago. But the story gets even crazier. So his alleged girlfriend's name is Susie Skinner. And he had been seeing her for quite some time, despite the fact that he was still married to Mica. And in the photos that you see of him with Susie, he even still has his wedding ring on. And listen, I'm not going to pretend like I know the ins and outs of this guy's personal life or his relationship with either one of these women. However, it appears to me that he was at the very least trying to keep up the illusion to some people, probably within his church, that everything was fine between him and his wife Mica, even though things were not fine at all. And we know that for a fact through documents, through protective orders that she put out against him, through claims that she made to friends and family and what have you. Now, as I mentioned, Susie Skinner has a husband that died. He died on Labor Day 2021. His name is Christopher Skinner. And it just so happens that he's a paraplegic motivational speaker. I believe he suffered like a tragic accident about 20 or so years ago, or 20 or so years before he passed away. And he had been confined to a wheelchair. Now, from what Susie Skinner claims, they would go to the pool all the time. He loved going to the pool. Now, that sounds kind of weird to me because a paraplegic person loving to go to the pool, I mean, sure, fine, but it's just not necessarily what you think of. So allegedly, he would go to the pool every day with Susie. And then on Labor Day of all days, he decides to go to the pool by himself, allegedly. And allegedly, there's no one at the pool on Labor Day, which is crazy. Because even if people aren't swimming, you would think there would be some type of festivities going on, maybe someone grilling or something. But there was no one around on this day, and he went to the pool by himself. I guess he misjudged how close he was to the pool, despite the fact that he went to this pool every day, according to Susie. But I guess he misjudged how close he was to the pool, fell into the pool, and drowned.
We're learning more about the man who died after being found unresponsive in an Horry County pool. The victim was 40-year-old Christopher Skinner, a paraplegic and a motivational speaker. WNBF News first reported on Skinner in 2015 when he spoke to high school students about the dangers of driving while intoxicated. He was paralyzed 20 years ago while a passenger in a car with a drunk driver. Skinner's drowning has been ruled accidental. For more on his work, you can find this story on the front page of WNBF News.
So, if you didn't understand why everyone is looking at John Paul Miller sideways right now, then maybe you have a better understanding of why at this point. Because here we have a man that's accused of a lot of various things, including grooming his own wife since she was a teenager. He's already out with another girlfriend while still married to his wife. And it just so happens that the woman he's seen, the saying goes, there's plenty of fish in the sea, right? Out of the millions and billions of people on this earth, the woman that he is allegedly engaged in a relationship with now also has a husband or also has a significant other that died mysteriously, kind of questionably. Now, is this just fate? Are these two individuals that suffered from tragedies of losing their significant other and fate brought them together because they can really understand each other's struggles? Or do we have two individuals who maybe wanted to be together, who got their significant others out of the way so they could, run off into the sunset together? That's what a lot of people seem to believe. And I don't know what to believe at this point, but looking at the situation, it kind of looks like that is a strong possibility. Let's just put it like that. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to accuse this guy of too much. But if all of that is not crazy enough, John Paul Miller actually conducted and did the sermon at this man's funeral. Now, how disrespectful is that? Like, regardless, even if all of these claims are false, how disrespectful is that? Christopher Skinner tragically dies in a swimming pool inside of his wheelchair. John Paul Miller oversees his funeral. And then shortly after, him and Susie are doing the you know what. So, I don't think anyone can look at this situation and not have a weird feeling about everything that's going on. And to be clear, legally, he's not accused of anything yet. We don't know exactly what happened to Mica yet. But I'm kind of the mind at this point that regardless of what happened to Mica, I do believe that he and maybe even members associated with his church were responsible for whatever happened. Even if they didn't pull the trigger, I feel like she was pushed over the edge. But, I mean, there's just so much to unpack here. And even though this is a lot to digest right now, this is the tip of the iceberg. So that's just how crazy this story is. So this story has a lot of twists and turns, to say the least. And the craziest part to me is that Mica, her story is the one that brought everyone, that brought everyone together. Her story is the one that's got everyone's attention. But now, if you ask me, in my opinion, I think not only are people questioning Mica's death, but now I think people are going to start rewinding time. Now I think we need to look further into Christopher Skinner's death. Sure, it may have happened a few years ago. Maybe everyone back then thought, hey, this was just a tragic accident. But now, due to recent developments, when you start trying to connect dots, and there may be no dots to connect, I don't know, we don't know. That's one thing I want to make clear. We don't know if any of these things have anything to do with each other. It's just a really odd coincidence, am I right, folks? So, everyone looking into Mica Miller's death and this response to this story, I think is going to have an effect to where people are going to now start looking into Christopher's story as well. Because let's just say that there is foul play involved here. Let's just say that someone did take Mica's life. Possibly her husband, possibly someone else, who knows? Then wouldn't you think that possibly these stories are connected? John Paul Miller's connection to this new girlfriend is just really odd. It's just too odd. And we talk about coincidences all the time. I believe that coincidences do happen. But the way this is lining up, the way the timelines are lining up, it doesn't sit right with me. But I'm trying to be responsible, and I'm trying not to say too much, because there's a lot of things that are unproven at this point. But we're going to continue looking into the situation. Protests have already broken out about the situation earlier today. So it's going to be one of those type of stories that probably goes off the rails sometime soon. But let me know your thought about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon in the next one.